several of our vendors with the city of Houston, and I had the opportunity to meet with the vendors. And Mayor, I still have concerns about a couple of our vendors that's listed here when it comes to meeting some of our participation goals. And you know, sometimes we harp on minority participation, which is right, because if you say you're going to meet a goal, you are obligated to meet that goal. But then when I began to research and look more, there have just been some shortfallings of other percentages goals that have not been met. So I know I can't really do anything about this item right now for this, but I would recommend that whenever we are looking at companies to do business with the city, we must, and I challenge the Department of Office of Business Opportunity as well as the Airport, Public Works, any department, whenever you choose to do business with the city of Houston, that we need to look at past performance. Because when I look back as far as 2007 on one of these companies, that they had slow performance on all of their minority participation goals. Some of them they had listed with a certain percentage, and they, as of the last week, had not been paid. And I understand now that they're trying to meet their goal, that they paying POs, you know, and all that. It shouldn't take, when you know that council that we're having concerns, then all of a sudden you rush in to submit in purchase orders or invoices to get paid to meet your goals. So I'm still having concerns. There's a history, Mayor, when I look at one of the projects in District B with Parker Road Improvement, one of the companies that was listed still as of 2007, 2008, 2009, failed to meet their goals. And so I'm you know, and I respect the companies, I'm not gonna call them out. They know who they are. And so I'm just having, you know, some serious issues, Mayor. And I know that you've always been fair about companies, you know, meeting their goals. And, you know, and some of our companies that they have not paid were women-owned companies. And so, and that's another issue that I have. And so we need to really take a look at this when these companies do this. And we just need to, you know, to continue to make our voices heard at this council table, especially when there is a history of failing to meet your goals. In one of these companies, there's a history of failing to meet your goals. And so we need to, you know, to look at that, Mayor. I don't know your opinion about it, but when there's a history, we have to do something about it. So I challenge Public Works, OVO, airports, please, when you look at these companies and you bring them on, look at their histories. Because they should not be doing business with the city if they cannot even come close. Or matter of fact, if you put a percentage down and they're not even getting paid, that's a problem. And so, I think this company, you know, shouldn't do business with the city anymore because there's a long history. Just not this year, last year, it has a year of service that they should not when it comes to minorities in their companies. And I'm personally having an issue with it, and it's black and browns. And I'm having a serious issue with that because if you have a history with that, then this council member has an issue with it. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and vote no on this item because whenever you look at something like this, then to me it sets a precedent on how you're treating minorities. That's your employees, people who are doing business with you across the city and across the state. And we should not support companies like that. Thank you.
Councilmember Burks.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, I tagged this item, and we did our research on it and asked questions and got them answered. And one answer that came back on yesterday was that the director said that there will not be any additional funds asked on this request in this calendar year. I like that, but the history of it is that $12 million was asked for last August 1st. It received it. Now we come back with $10 million now. My question to the director was, how much is it that we actually need? All. I know that the infrastructure of the airport is in dire need of help, but I really would like to, being council members, to know everything so we can make one check or one item out and not come back and come back and come back. Well, I've been assured they won't come back in this calendar year, but I do know that they're coming back in the next one. And so I like for the director to be able to give us everything at one point in time and not just nickel and dime as we use that expression politely. But it is hard to look at that like that. Now, as far as the minority business are concerned, there were some job changes on some contracts that minority MWBEs had, and they change those contracts and those scopes of work. My concern is that when we around the table I've heard in the last 18 months, whereas MWBEs, there are no MWBEs qualified for this work, or no MWBEs on the books who are trained and knowledgeable about this type of work. The only way that you get training and knowledge is to do the work. And when I see those changes happen, that affects their ability to rise from the MWBE list to become a general contractor or a contractor. And I like to see that change. I also want to see everyone paid on time in a timely manner. And I know that OBO has now sanctions, but I like for them to really look at those sanctions and look at what they're doing and hold it. In other words, don't gum the idea to death, bite it. Use your teeth on it. Make sure that it is understood that we mean what we say when we vote on things here, and that we're abiding by that. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have to say on this item.
Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I too looked into this issue and spoken with the director, and I think this is one of the changes that we were able to implement in Chapter 15 as we revised the Office of Business Opportunity. Well, the charter that speaks to the Office of Business Opportunity, and with regard to slow pay, with regard to self-performing, with regard to listing contractors or subs of which the scope that the airport needs really doesn't necessarily lie within the bailiwick of the particular MWBEs. So essentially listing the MWBEs, but not actually utilizing the MWBEs. And it's really one company. There are three firms here that are we speak of, and it's really only one company, and I think we all know who they are, that have challenges with this. And so I would just ask that hopefully the administration and the Office of Business Opportunity would seriously look perhaps at this particular firm. I would hope that the perhaps controller could maybe even audit this particular firm to find out, because we do know that there is a past history with regard to this particular firm, with regard to MWBEs, WBEs, and SBEs of self-performing and how they deal with their subs, and really ask that Director Wright and her staff really utilize what we've passed earlier this year relative to Chapter 15 and get on top of this issue. And I did speak to the director. He did say that these three particular entities have different scopes, and so there is a necessity to keep this particular firm on at this point and perhaps not go out for RFP, because all of these are continuation projects. However, moving forward, as Councilman Burks said, hopefully in the next year there will be an RFP, and perhaps we can look at firms who understand the spirit in which we do things here in the city of Houston. Thank you.
Councilmember Green, since you made the request, my understanding from Councilmember Adams is that the complaints arise from a previous contractor work, and we can obviously give particular scrutiny to the company in question on this particular contract, but I will ask OVO to go back and investigate if there are vendors unpaid from actually prior to any of us serving in this chamber in this capacity. We need to figure that out. It's nothing to do with this particular contract.
Well, my particular vendor,
I will assign them. Okay.
Thank you. The vendors I spoke to, this was a WBE, hadn't been paid since I believe April, and the city has been invoiced and gone through that process. So there are still some, with regard to this particular contract, some challenges.
Thank you. Councilmember Noriega.
Mayor, I need to tell you, I just hate these. I just hate them. I need to say to everybody in the audience and all of you out there, if you say you're going to hire subs and you either have them do the work and don't pay them, or you don't tell them, or you use their name in vain, or whatever it is, you've got to quit this. I mean, do they think we're stupid? happens with these. I have been frustrated the whole time I've been on council that, that this happens. It seems like it's happening less. I appreciate anybody that has figured out how to fix it, but if you put a goal down, don't put down an unrealistic goal, put down a realistic goal. If you can't make it, talk to us about it as you go along for whatever reasons are real. But don't hire somebody and not pay them, or say you're gonna hire somebody and use that to get the contract and then not use them. I'm ready to vote no on this just because I'm irritated, and there are other firms here that need to get work done, and the airport needs what they need, and so it, you know, deciding to vote no in a fit of pique is not responsible. But at the same time, this is not okay. And I expect our departments to monitor this the same as the Office of Business Opportunity. The real responsibility is in the departments as it goes along, as well as whatever kind of MWBE oversight we have. These are government contracts. They are often a real opportunity for small businesses coming up and trying to figure out how to do it. It's economic development, it's fairness, it's legal, it's moral, it's right. Don't do this. You've got to stop. Thank you.
Councilmember, very well said. There is no excuse for not paying your subs. In terms of meeting goals, the only thing I'll say about that is that this is an on-call contract, and like job order contracts, on-call contracts, often it depends on what breaks, and so the subs may not actually get the work. Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, ma'am. Quick question, Mayor. At this point, instead of voting no, is there another option we could enforce with a bad actor or actors on this contract?
We have a specific process under Chapter 15, which Councilman Green was alluding to. If the evidence shows that a contractor is not acting in good faith with respect to achieving an MWBE goal, action can be taken on the contract. And further, that contractor can be debarred. But in order to accomplish that, they have to be provided due process. So there's a very specific procedure in place to establish this, and if in fact the evidence shows they're not acting in good faith, action can be taken.
So the requirement would be that those who, the subcontractors, need to bring formal complaint through under the Chapter 15.
Oh, actually, OVO can act on its own. It doesn't have to have a complaint. And I think with the issues being raised at the table today, this is going to be something that will be watched closely with respect to these particular contracts.
As I indicated to Councilmember Green, will direct over to investigate, but obviously the subcontractors would have to.
And Mayor, maybe I've been watching too much TV. Is this an opportunity to bring the contractor forth in one of our committee meetings? And no? Okay, we have to come in and try and see it in
Vice Mayor Pro Tem Bradford.
Thank you, Mayor. I like to separate out the failure to meet a goal, because those are goals, and there's very little we can do in the way of enforcement as it relates to the goal, even though I stand firmly that those goals should be adhered to. But I want to focus on the non-payment to a sub. That's something very, very different. And it was my understanding, Mr. Feldman, that there was proviso in all the cities' kind of uniform contractual language that held primes kind of responsible for not necessarily who they choose or select as subs, but you have to pay the sub. Would you respond to that, please? Because I'm really concerned when a company's coming forward saying they haven't been paid, and the company has in fact collected, the prime has collected from the city of Houston. Would you comment on that issue, please?
Yes, sir. We do have provisions in all of our contracts relative to payment subs. And I know that I myself have been involved in a number of issues where subs have contacted us and said they haven't been paid. And we contact the prime, or we bring the prime in, and we resolve it. So I was unaware of any issues with respect to this particular contract with subs not being paid. It happens, and we do have a means of enforcing it.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I want to just get on the record, that the city does have authority to enforce that, and actually OBO, Office of Business Opportunity, could take some action too, based on the fact that a firm has not met its contractual obligations by not paying a sub. So this is an issue that can be addressed, or should be addressed, and there's a clear process to address such when a sub is not paid. So I think we should move on that as quickly as possible. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Martin.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm lost in the discussion. Can anyone clarify for me? Because I'm looking at the RCA, and it clearly states that the MWBE participation goal is 30%. And we have a Recondo at 29.99, Lee Fisher at 31, and then an HNTB at 20. Are we talking specifically about HNTB? But there are two separate issues here, because now I'm hearing about non-payment. So exactly who is in violation of the MWBE goal of 30%? In my opinion, it's HNTB. Is that who we're talking about? It seems like we're talking in hyperbole. Is it those guys, and who has the non-payment issue? Because I don't understand. Can anyone clarify that for me? Thank you.
And Councilmember Martin, there are allegations at this point, and as city attorney, I don't know the answer to that. There's an expectation of due process by the company that the allegations are being raised against.
And I understand that, but if they are non-payment, I would vote no to this, but I don't know who I'm voting no against. And I'm a little confused, quite honest.
Well, and at this point, we have no evidence before us, Councilmember. I will,
Councilmember, can you yield?
absolutely.
After this is over, you can make a suggestion to meet with OBO, because I wasn't going to call the companies out, but there's a history that OBO presented to me of the companies that fell short of everything, and so it's documented. So if you would like that information, they'll be more than happy to share that information with you on moving forward.
I'd love to see it. As a matter of fact, if they're not doing it, I would call them out right now.
And if you could yield, Councilmember, it's the same company, so.
And frankly, council members, then I fault OBO if this is coming up here at the table and they should have gone through the process. I'll lay that right on the OBO director. I understand that this starts in the departments, but this kind of conversation should not be happening in this chamber. Chair recognizes Councilmember Lassiter.